The anime depicts a story about a world that is governed by a count. The count could represent a number related to one's daily lifestyle, and if that count drops down to 0, the all-thing would drag them into the abyss, just like it did with Hina's mother. Her last dying wish was for Hina to take the dark orb and to search for someone known as the legendary ace. 5 years later, after traveling the world, Licht appears before Hina and scares away her friends. He introduces himself, then begs her for some money while rubbing on her thighs. Hina kicks the creep away, but he remains persistent. He gets a nosebleed after looking up her skirt, causing Hina to hit him once more and run off. Licht chases her before getting elbowed by the mother of all plots. She apologizes to Hina for what happened and introduces herself as Nana. She offers Hina some food and she introduces herself back. She tells Nana about her mother getting packed all those years back, and Nana guesses that she must have been dragged into the abyss. Hina doesn't know what that is, so Nana explains everything. She points out that everyone around them has numbers on their body, each representative of something specific. For example, Nana's number on her plot goes up every time someone says her food is good and goes down every time someone says her food is shit. Hina has her number on the inside of her thigh. Licht wants to take a peek, but Nana throws him away. She continues her explanation, saying that if the number goes down to 0, you'll get sent into the abyss by the all-thing. It's unclear if being sent to the abyss means death or means you just get sent into another world. She points out one last thing. She says everyone must obey the orders of those who have higher numbers than them. The higher the number, the higher the status. Nana then asks Hina what her numbers mean, to which she replies saying they count the distance she's walked. Every 100 kilometers she walks, she gets an extra point. Damn, she's walked a lot. She's traveled this far in search of the legendary ace, but Nana hasn't heard of him and thinks it's a made-up fairy tale. Just before she takes her leave, a man in uniform appears and claims to be the legendary ace. Hina cries tears of joy having finally found him after searching all these years. He tells her that he'd love to hear her story and takes her to the guard house. Hina says her goodbyes and Nana tells her to be careful. After arriving at the guard house, the strange man wants to know more about Hina and her body count. Hina shows him the dark orb known as a ballot, which her mother gave her. The other guards become unsettled and the man tells her to hand it over to her. After hesitating, the man resorts to being forceful. She orders him to stop, knowing she has a higher body count, meaning he must obey. Normally that would be the case, but the man abuses his military privileges and orders a star stake, a duel where they put their body counts on the line. He defeats her with ease and takes most of her count, reducing her to 1, while his count has been up by 400. She can't believe what the legendary ace is doing. That's when he rips off the fake star on his face, meaning he was a fraud this whole time. She calls her stupid and says even if the legendary ace did exist, he'd have been dead by now since it's been over 300 years since the Waste War. He threatens to do another star stake if she doesn't hand over the ballot. That's when Licht appears, offering to take her place in the star stake. The man laughs at him after seeing his minus 999 body count. He attacks him, but the other guard men begin to get worried. They wonder how his body count can be negative, yet he still hasn't been sent to the abyss. That's when they realize Licht is a ballot holder. Licht dodges the man's attacks with his super speed and advises Hina to quit her search for aces and to live a normal life. He takes out his sword where he reveals the number 5700 with a white star. They all begin to realize that Licht is indeed the legendary ace. Licht proceeds to beat the shit out of the man and demands that he gives Hina back her body count. Back home, Nana explains to an old man that his negative 999 body count actually counts for the amount of times the creep has been rejected by a woman. He leaps towards the sky while holding Hina. She really does believe that he's the legendary ace she's been searching for this whole time. Licht comes crashing down from the sky like a meteor and defeats the opponent. The all-thing surrounds him and takes his number away, and then proceeds to open Hina's legs to increase her body count. After everything that's happened, she begins to cry tears of joy, but Licht steals her ballot from her, saying he can now buy whatever he wants with it. He gives her teddy bear to her in return, and Hina can't believe she's been betrayed. He says that he's not the ace her mother wanted her to find, and he bounces up out of here and leaves her there. She heads back to Nana and starts crying to her. She sits her down and takes a look at her teddy bear. She tells her that she might want to hang on to that teddy bear. That's when the teddy opens up and the ballot is revealed to be inside of it. Holding a ballot is illegal, so he made it seem like he took it from her in front of the guards in order to protect her. Aww. Hina came running back to Licht. She gets emotional, begging for him not to leave as he was indeed the one her mother told her to search for. Her dumbass trips over and Licht gets away. She says I hate you, and his number decreases to minus 1000. A few hours go by and suddenly one of the guards from the battle earlier approaches Hina. He knows that Hina is the one that has the real ballot. She gets worried, but he assures her that he doesn't care for the ballot. In fact, he came to thank her because they have now located the legendary ace, and he can file a positive report to his real commanding officer. The following day, a female sergeant called Lynn is informed of the news of the wanted Licht. She clearly doesn't give a shit as she's more focused on handing out flyers about building a park for children to the rest of the town. She's always there to lend a helping hand to anyone in need. Her body count goes up based on the number of people she's helped, despite her efforts to help anyone and everyone. Her count only goes up whenever she helps someone who's in trouble or in desperate need of help. Sergeant Pele reminds her of the wanted poster he tried to show her earlier, and she decides to give it a read. She thinks it would be hard to find him as he wouldn't be wearing his mask the whole time. That's when she notices a pudding man with a mask. She tries to force the mask off his face while the man pleads his innocence. He tries to gain sympathy points by pointing out he's been rejected by 1,000 women, showing his negative 1,000 body count, the same as Licht. His only wish is to go on one date with a girl before he passes away. Pele suggests for Lin to help him out and go on a date with him. She's hesitant but eventually gives in. Immediately her body count goes up. After having drinks on a table together, they both cross a shaky bridge and Pele shakes the bridge from one side so Pudding Man can see some turbulence from Lin's plots.
A whole bunch of turbulence! A whole bunch of turbulence!
She suddenly breaks a part of the bridge and is about to fall before Pudding Man saves her. Lin has seen enough and wants to end the date, but Pudding Dude tries to gain more sympathy points and starts crying. She feels guilty so decides to carry on for a little longer. Pudding Dude lays down on her thick thighs and Pele suggests for him to squeeze them. He does so with zero hesitation and Lin's body count increases rapidly in the process. Pele has had enough time messing around and explains to Lin's dumbass that the Pudding Man is actually the wanted man on the poster. She takes off his mask to reveal Licht. She begins attacking him with her leg kicks and Licht enjoys the view of her panties after every kick. She's surprised to notice that he hasn't gotten a single scratch from one of her kicks. Licht tries to seduce her with his dreamy eyes and it looks like it's working. She goes in for a kiss, but Pele informs her that Licht had already bounced. Meanwhile, Hina is helping Nana out with her customers. That's when a lieutenant appears and asks Nana about the wanted man. She replies saying he hasn't seen him for a long while. He thinks she's lying and asks her once more after trapping her feet to the ground. She has no choice but to admit last hearing of him heading towards the east. So the lieutenant orders his men to head towards the west and destroys her entire store like the badass he is. Nana figures that the lieutenant must also be a ballot holder. That's when Hina realizes just how powerful the ballot really is. Meanwhile, at Lin's village, her and Pele continue to hand out flyers when a strange man offers to help her. The man turns out to be Licht, who she chases across the village. They run past a food store where a woman tries to sell them some radish. She catches up to them and asks Lin if the man she's chasing is her boyfriend. The other villagers hear the word and end up chasing after them too. She denies having a boyfriend, but Licht tells them that she showed him her undies the day before, which makes things worse. She gets distracted by the crowd of villagers and Licht ends up escaping. Back at the bar, Hina is worried about the military who are after Licht and wants to warn him before it's too late. Nana says they won't be able to go anywhere until they rebuild their broken carriage. Licht is still wondering how the town can be so peaceful despite having a wanted criminal on the loose. He sees how the villagers all rely on Hina and ask for her help. An angry baker brings a kid to her who stole from his store. She helps defuse the situation by telling the baker she'll make the kid do some volunteer work to make up for it, while at the same time, she'll make sure the kid has enough food to eat so he doesn't have to steal. The kid starts crying. The old villagers surround her and beg for massages, causing her to step on a little girl's toy doll and break it. She starts crying so Lin tries to fix it as it was a gift from her mother. Licht jumps down and fixes the doll for her, so she thanks him. But that doesn't stop Lin from chasing him. During the chase, Licht senses that something is off and saves Lin from getting wrecked by black spikes emerging from the ground. It's the first lieutenant and his men who have already caught up to Licht. Even Lin rushes towards Licht to check if he's fine, telling the lieutenant that he's gone too far. She's worried about him, but the lieutenant knows he's still alive and tells Licht to cut the act. Licht springs into action and starts blocking and dodging their attacks. He manages to blow away most of the guards, so the lieutenant decides to handle Licht himself. Before that, he orders Lin to recite and explain their current mission. She states their mission is to arrest the ballot holder. A ballot holder is someone who holds illegal body counts. It's illegal to even own a ballot even if you don't use it, unless you're part of the military, in which you're permitted to hold one. Ballots allow for their holders to gain special abilities, though the strength of these abilities depend on their count. Licht points out that he's got a higher body count of 5,700 to the lieutenant's 900 count. The lieutenant attacks him anyway. Licht uses his super speed to try evading the attacks and plan his escape. The lieutenant actually matches his speed and blasts him with his iron power. Licht wonders how he's this powerful and figures that his count is wrong and he must have a higher body count. He reveals that he's had his count that low on display as he doesn't want a promotion. He uncovers the fake count and shows his real count to be 12,500. Surrounded by black iron pillars, they resume their battle. Lin tries to intervene, but her giant melons deny her entry. Licht tries once more to use his speed, but the lieutenant is still faster and knocks Licht's sword out his hand. Licht then resorts to hand-to-hand combat, but receives a mean-ass kick from the lieutenant. He grabs Licht's sword and throws it back at him, showing lack of respect for Licht's power. Licht decides it's time to kick things up a notch. He leaps up into the air, looking to replicate the same move he did before when protecting Hina. He descends rapidly while trying to evade iron pillars being thrown at him. The lieutenant catches him with one last black pillar before he touches the ground and Licht gets hurt. After falling to the ground, he gets restrained by the iron power once again. After successfully restraining him, the lieutenant wants to ask Licht a question. He wants to confirm if Licht was once part of the military. He figured it out after seeing the martial arts style Licht used during their hand-to-hand combat battle. He also asks how Licht could still be alive after 300 years as the legendary ace. Essentially, he's curious about who Licht really is. Licht avoids answering the question, so the lieutenant resorts to more forceful methods. He attacks him with an iron chain, but Lin steps in front and takes the hit. The lieutenant asks why, and Lin responds saying that Licht isn't all that bad of a person. The lieutenant takes the opportunity to call Lin out on the rumors he's heard of her worrying more about volunteer work than her actual duties. Lin explains why it's necessary and shows him her flyer, which he rips up while calling her useless. The village people try to stand up for her, but she says it's okay and is about to apologize to the lieutenant, but Licht stops her. He reveals that he could have cut through the iron at any time but didn't do so in order to avoid chaos in the town. The lieutenant believes that Licht is also hiding a higher number and they continue their battle. During their clash, he demands that the lieutenant apologizes to Lin. They're releasing so much energy that the part of land Lin was on broke off, and she falls from the cliff. The lieutenant tries to save her, but Licht beats him for pace and gets there first. He's holding her as they fall but calls her a fat ass because he's struggling to carry her weight. She calls him a jerk and his count goes down once more. He throws her fat ass to the lieutenant and escapes in the process. The lieutenant manages to get them both back to the top safely. He also calls her fat and drops her to the ground. It must be those giant plots of hers. He takes a moment to reflect while looking at the flyer he ripped up and decides to make a park for the kids from his iron powers. He says it'll only last 3 days, so they'll need to build and secure the structure themselves. After those 3 days, the lieutenant will resume his search for Licht and tells Lin that he wants her to come along too. His number decreases by 1 after betraying one of his convictions. Some time passes by and Licht's broke ass is running out of food. Eventually, Hina has found him at last, but he tries to make it out like it's not him behind the mask. Hina takes off his mask and he asks how she found him, to which she replies saying it was just a hunch. Nana waves and calls them over for some food. They talk about how the news spread of him facing off with the lieutenant over some girl. The girl they're referring to being Lin. He lunges towards the carriage for some food but gets whacked in the face by Miss Big Plot over here, as she tells him he's gonna have to pay in order to eat. He's broke as shit, so Nana suggests he gathers some firewood with Hina. Hina confronts him about lying when he said he'd come back and have dinner with her. However, she gives him the lunch she made for him while on the road. She says the way they're sat down together and eating kind of feels like a date. He gives him one of the sandwiches to try, and before he can take a bite, a plane flies directly above them. A redhead baddie is controlling the plane, but Licht notices she's about to crash, so swoops in and saves her before she passionately hugs the ground. They get to safety and the redhead jumps on top of him and asks him if he can fly. She decides to investigate herself by touching him up. What a lucky dude. She finds out that he's a fraud and can't actually fly, so she gets up and calls him lame. She introduces herself as Pelmo. She takes them in to show off her plane prototypes. Her one dream is to be able to fly and have the freedom of a bird. Licht reminds her that it's forbidden and punishable by unaliveness to fly in the town they're in. She already knew this, which is why she's trying to lay low. She thinks her shitty dream is worth risking her life for. She says there's no point in living if they can't chase their dreams. Licht starts to agree with her and fixes her blueprint drawing. She takes a look at it and thinks he might be onto something here. She stays behind to make some changes and tells them that they'll catch up later. Licht wonders if he did the right thing helping her. Hina starts glazing him by saying what he did was very kind to help her pursue her dreams. He thanks her and she starts blushing. Licht blushes too, probably developing a semi by now. On the topic of dreams, she asks him what his dream is. He says it's a secret, probably covering the fact that the only dreams he gets are wet dreams. However, he says his goal is to know what color undies Hina wears. He goes in to spread her legs, but she just about manages to resist before Pelmo arrives, saying she's finished making her changes. She shows them her new and improved plane. However, Licht senses something's off. The military are here. Hina tells Pelmo that she needs to go and hide while Licht handles business. But instead of attacking the military, he slices her plane into pieces. The military had received reports of someone attempting to fly. She shows them the plane that was cut into the shape of a windmill, telling them that's what she had been building. The military leave and Licht apologizes, but she's understanding of the situation. Hina tries to cheer her up, saying she can always help her build more planes. She thanks her but says it's already done, and shows them her count, which drops down to 0. Her body count is representative of the number of times her planes got destroyed. She gets slowly dragged into the abyss by the Althing, and Hina gets Vietnam flashbacks of seeing her mother get packed the same way. She runs to try and save her but gets slapped away. The Althing tries to attack her but Licht blocks it with his sword. He gets shocked by the electricity and memories begin flooding through his head. Elmo reminds them that going into the abyss might not guarantee death, and she remains hopeful that there's another life out there. She tells Hina to promise she won't cry and says her last goodbye. Licht drops to his knees and starts breathing heavily. Hina asks what's wrong and notices a count of 001 in his eye. The next morning, Licht wakes up beside Hina in a tent. He remembers feeling useless for not being able to save everyone yesterday. In the town center, a festival was taking place. Hina notices a gloomy look on Licht's face. She tells him to cheer up, but the creep shows just how cheered up he is by attempting to look under Hina's skirt again. Suddenly, Lin appears. She takes the chance to thank him for saving her that time, then puts him in handcuffs, not because it's one of her kinks, but because it's part of her mission as a member of the military. Hina asks Licht who this girl is. Lin introduces herself and says she knows Licht from the time they dated. Hina introduces herself back to Lin. Licht could have never expected his side bitches to meet each other, so he runs away but gets clotheslined by Nana. She sees that the two girls are both desperate for Licht's sword, so she sets up a cooking competition for them. The winner gets Licht, who's currently tied up with rope. They both get into their cooking attire and begin gathering ingredients. A merchant seller starts sweet-talking Lin to buy his ingredients, but Lin kicks him on the head. Meanwhile, Hina is gathering some fresh vegetables when a bear charges at her, but gets caught by her trap. She uses her knife to turn the bear into ingredients of her own. Lin is doing what she does best, being in the kitchen, making her stew. Sergeant Pele arrives, who's there because of volunteer work. Meanwhile, Hina arrives with the bear she caught. She uses her knife to skin and butcher the bear, while everyone watches with disgust. Lin's stew looks somewhat edible, while Hina's looks like something a witch brewed up. Time's up and they present their dishes to Licht. Lin goes first. Licht takes a sip of the stew and finds that it tastes delicious. Hina is up next and presents a monstrosity of a stew to Licht. He's hesitant but takes a sip. He absolutely loves it and goes in for more spoonfuls. Pele can't believe it, so tries it himself and finds that Licht was right. Licht apologizes to Hina for prejudging her dish by the way it looked and tells her that she should be proud. It's time for Licht to make his final decision. He finds it hard to judge as the crowd is hurrying him to decide. That's when the lieutenant appears. He asks Lin what the fuck is going on. He ordered her to arrest Licht, not to have silly cook-offs. Lin looks in embarrassment and shame and apologizes. Licht breaks free of the ropes to plan his escape. The lieutenant is strongly intent on not letting him get away this time. He emerges spikes from the ground, destroying the festival, and they begin their bout. Licht starts blocking and evading the attacks coming his way, as the lieutenant asks him why he held back during the last time they fought. He pushes him back, and as he's throwing the nastiest uppercut known to man, he stops at the last second.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no.
Licht gets saved by plot armor Nana, who calls for the fight to end after they've destroyed half the town. They realize she's right and withdraw their weapons. They sit down over dinner together. The following day, the lieutenant came across a desolate town that had been completely destroyed. They had located a giant gloomy hole where the lake used to be. Lin thinks that the void in the ground may in fact be the abyss. They come across a traumatized survivor who describes encountering a demon that came from the abyss. He was having lunch with his friends before the ground began to shake and the lake turned into a pit of darkness. Lieutenant Jail asks him to describe what the demon looked like. The demon was red-eyed with 6 wings and a tail. It could fly and spew flames from its mouth, burning women and children in the process. Lieutenant Jail believes it must have been a ballot holder capable of using fire powers, but the unsettled survivor firmly disagreed after seeing it with his own eyes. He faints, so they rush to take him to another town where they can treat his injuries. Jail goes on to pay Licht a visit. They have a confrontational showdown where Jail accuses Licht not of being the demon that destroyed the town, but knowing something Jail doesn't. Once again, the MILF Nana orders them both to pack it in before they go on to destroy another town themselves. Nana suggests that they take drinks instead, so Jail whips out a bag of money that he definitely didn't acquire illegally, and orders all the drinks she has. He makes Licht drink while he tries to get a hold of information from him. They chug away and it turns into a competition of who can down the drinks the fastest. Both a little tipsy to say the least. Jail accuses Licht of being the legendary ace as well as being an illegal ballot holder. Licht chuckles and denies the accusations. The lieutenant is persistent on finding out who Licht really is, but that only results in the two of them getting angrier at each other. Nana gets a bit tipsy herself and offers them even more drinks. Lin starts to get all up in her feelings when she sees how cute Hina is and realizes she'll always be second best to her as Licht's side bitch. Meanwhile, Licht and Jail charge at each other with bottles and down the liquid straight down their throats until they could no longer take it and pass out.
That's gay.
The ladies rush to their aid. Well, mainly Licht because they don't give a about that old lieutenant. Then, the ground starts shaking and panic spreads among civilians as another giant hole appears in the town they're in. Jail makes it to the edge of the hole and claims to hear something. The survivor from earlier appears and starts freaking out, saying they're all going to be unalived. Jail orders everyone to evacuate and for his men to gather ammunition in order to destroy whatever comes lurking out of that pit of darkness. Licht seems to hear a familiar noise coming from the abyss and tells Jail to cancel his orders and bring everyone back. Jail thinks he's right about his accusations of Licht knowing something about this demon. That's when the demon finally makes its grand entrance, emerging from the abyss. Licht starts tearing up like a bitch, wondering how those things were still able to fly after the waste war. The giant helicopter demon takes aim, but Jail shields everyone using his iron powers. Licht starts commanding the knights to evacuate everyone underground in order to avoid the helicopter. Jail tells him to stop taking his commands, but Licht claims that he knows how to fight it, so they should listen to him. He then shows them his military ranking, so he takes command as a colonel. He goes ahead to take on the helicopter demon one-on-one. Jail realizes the dude he's been chasing this entire time is a colonel and that the rumors of him being the legendary ace are true. Licht blocks a missile heading towards Hina cause her dumbass doesn't know what evacuate means. While leaping up to deliver a finishing blow, Licht gets blocked by the Althing hands. Jail notices that the Althing is also going after the helicopter. Licht tries to attack the demon once more but gets stopped again by the Althing. He tries slashing the Althing with his sword but gets the same electric shock he got the last time he tried it. Hina begs Jail to help him, but he can't as it's against the law for members of the military to attack the Althing. After his persistent attacks, Licht gets whacked towards the ground by the Althing. Hina wants to go and help him, but Nana holds her back, saying there's nothing she can do. Jail asks Lin where he put his glasses. She doesn't understand, but he says it's a shame he can't see a thing without his glasses, then proceeds to throw an iron pillar at the Althing. His vision's a little blurry, so if he doesn't know what he's attacking, then he can't break the law right. The others follow suit and they begin throwing pieces of rock and metal at the Althing. Since each individual hand is holding something, it gives Licht the chance to go and attack the demon. Just as he's doing so, he pauses at the last second. Jail asks him why he stopped his attack, but a barrage of bullets come raining down on the demon, causing it to fall into the abyss. They both look up to the sky and see a strange flying female figure, who immediately gets behind Licht and aims a weapon to his head. Jail asks who she is, but before he could finish his sentence, he had already gotten fired at and collapsed to the ground. Licht and the woman seem to have known each other before already, and she introduces herself as Sanohara Mizuka, also known to be the legendary ace of pursuit. She wants everyone to keep what just happened today as a secret, but she knows she can't trust them, so starts bombarding them with rounds. Licht leaps up, but she grabs him from behind, telling him how much she missed him. Another side bitch added to Licht's roster, except this one is a little psycho. She says that she'll always obey the order he gave her long ago, which was to eliminate people. She starts firing again and Licht demands that she stops, but that proves to be futile as she floats higher into the air and fires a whole lot more onto innocent people. Licht begins deflecting her bullets, but they move around his sword in order to land. Her ability is that her bullets tail their mark until they hit. Licht gets hit and collapses to the ground. Hina rushes towards him but gets restrained by soldiers who do the same to Nana and the rest. Sanohara demands for Licht to revert back to the way he was, but he says he can't, just like how he can't bring himself to eliminate her. She says that's a shame because she wants him to eliminate her, and that can't happen with this soft version of Rihido. Lin wonders if Rihido is Licht's real name. They point their weapon at an innocent boy and demand he recoups his killer instincts again and eliminates something if he wants to save the boy. He reassures the boy, promising him that he'll make it out of this. Just as they were about to pull the trigger on the boy, all three soldiers that were surrounding him got eliminated in an instant. He then starts eliminating the other soldiers one by one. Nana shouts at Licht, telling him not to give in, but he tells her to shut the fuck up. He says Jail asked him who he really was, and he reveals that he is the Plunderer. He then eliminates the last standing soldier in badass fashion. Hina once asked him what his dream was, and he reveals his goal is to take everything the nation has to offer. Sanohara starts wetting her pants over this new badass Licht and starts begging him to eliminate her. He reminds her of the rule for when two aces fight each other. They must bet all their stars, and so they both agree to do it, commencing their battle through a star stake. The battle will only end once one of them falls and the other turns victor. Hina gets worried after noticing the difference in their body count. Licht having 5,700 while Sono having a 32,000 body count. Pele suggests that Licht is hiding his true power, remembering the time he fought on the same level as Jail while having a much lower body count. He thinks Nana knows something about Licht that they don't. After getting hurt, Licht goes into a fit of rage and powers up while drastically increasing his count to 57,000. He begins overwhelming Sono with strikes. Licht becomes unrecognizable to Hina and Nana demands that they go as far as possible from Licht. Another personality called Schmelman has taken him over, one that is driven by the intent to end lives. He'll eliminate anyone in his way, friend or foe, and will only stop after collapsing from fatigue. After striking Sono down, her count halved. Turns out she was already in the state where a personality had taken her over, but now she's back to normal. Licht calls Four Eyes useless as always. Lin tells him to stop, but the only thing running through his mind is his desire to eliminate his enemies. Hina's dumbass rushes in to hug him, pleading for him to stop all this.
Women.
Instead, he sees her as his enemy and is about to strike her before Sono fires a bullet at him. Sono tells him that she's his enemy, not Hina. She tells them to run while Licht attacks her. She tries to get Licht to remember her, but he flings her onto the wall. Just as he's about to strike her with his sword, the lieutenant swoops in, saving her. He tells Licht to fight him instead. Licht uses a golden light attack to blind them and Jail falls down. Sono begs Jail to stop, saying that Licht is too strong for him. Licht goes in for another attack, but Jail blocks his sword with a small tablet of iron. Jail says his sword is no match for him because Licht has no conviction. He rams him with a pillar of iron and mocks him. Licht replies saying he wants to free his friends from becoming murderers because if there are no more enemies to eliminate, then there will be no more murderers. Jail puts on some gloves that read a count of 45,000 and they resume their battle. Licht goes in for an attack and manages to slash away the Iron Beast's weapons. However, the beast throws a nasty punch, hammering him to the ground. Jail kicks the mask off his face and the bitch apologizes. They see that Licht has returned to normal and celebrate with each other. Sono thanks Jail but he collapses to the ground. We then cut to a scene where a strange man is reading the story of the hare and the tortoise to 3 kids. A soldier then enters and informs the man of their failed mission involving Sanohara. The man replies saying that it doesn't matter because there's nowhere for them to hide. He then requests for his soldier to, quote-unquote, bring my beloved tortoise soon. The soldier agrees to following his orders and refers to the strange man as General Schmelman.
Take you